All right, Berto, Black Mirror, episode 2, season 7, Bête Noire. Let's get into it. What do you say?
You bet.
This is the Psychology in Seattle podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Kirk and Humberto. I'm a therapist and a professor.
My name is Humberto Castañeda. I wake up people who've fallen asleep in poppy fields.
So this episode is called Bête Noire, and I looked up what that means, and it means literally black beast, but in common American or English usage, it's a person or thing that one particularly dislikes. So it's fitting to call it that in this episode. So this stars Sienna Kelly and Rosie McEwen, and it's written by the showrunner Charlie Brooker. So I'm just going to rattle through the plot as I saw it. So Maria is a rising executive at a confectionery company, and Maria is doing great, and everyone likes her. She likes her life. She likes her partner, her boyfriend. And then Verity, this new girl, this new woman is hired.
Yeah, she seems fine.
And she's a former schoolmate of Maria's. And Maria's like, oh, Verity, she's like an unstable person.
No, she liked her from the beginning.
Yeah. And it comes out that Maria's kind of worried because Verity was bullied in high school, and maybe Maria was ancillary and participating in that bullying. But anyway, so Maria, our protagonist, her life starts to slowly fall apart. She loses a promotion. Her coworkers turn on her. Her partner leaves her. Verity, the other woman, tells Maria about the bullying that she went through in high school, and Verity seems to be blaming Maria for it. And you know, Maria's a little dismissive, but eventually Maria, our protagonist, is like, yeah, you know, kids are mean, and that never should have happened, and I'm sorry you went through that.
And she finally does admit that it was her that started the rumor.
Right. Yeah. But in the middle of the episode, Maria, our protagonist, doesn't take responsibility. She doesn't say, and I was the one that caused it. Maria discovers that Verity, the new woman, is using a device to change things. Like Verity can change things like the security camera will show that Maria drank the almond milk.
Well, she wears this watch, and every time she rotates the crown, things change, it seems like.
What?
She's got this watch, and the watch is
that a reference or something?
No, like that's how she changes things in the show.
Why are you...
Look it up.
It feels like a joke that you're saying.
Look it up. It's a watch. It's not a pendant. It was never a pendant. It's never been a pendant.
I said it's a joke. I knew it was a joke. I'm just like, how is this a funny joke? Okay, so Verity tortured another classmate before the episode began, and that other classmate died by suicide, and Maria's like, oh no. Anyway, so Maria confronts Verity in her house. They fight. Long story short, Maria, our protagonist, kills Verity, shoots her in the head. She takes the pendant and manages to get out of trouble. But then the last thing she says is, I am Empress of the Universe.
Yes.
And this leads me to want to mention just one critique of this episode, that I have a criticism of a lot of things like this, that the planets in the sky, you know, so she says, I'm Empress of the Universe, and she's instantly transported to this pyramid. She's at the top, and she has this headdress on, and the cops are at her feet, you know, saying, you're the Empress of the Universe. One, why wouldn't she just be on Earth in this fictional world, right? But she's on a different planet. Okay. Right. And the way that they signal that she's on a different planet is they show all these planets in the sky.
Right.
And the planets are way too fucking close.
No, it's fine.
To her planet, and they're too close to each other.
It looks great.
It's stupid. It's not how things work. The moon is relatively large and pretty close to the Earth. How big is it in the sky? It's tiny. So they always show the planets like they're basically touching. You know, if you had a planet touching, if the Earth was touching the moon, you know, if the moon was on the horizon or something, it still wouldn't look as big as these planets do in the sky. It just annoys me.
I think it's because you haven't traveled enough throughout the universe. You haven't seen these things.
And another thing that they do, I don't know if they did it in this episode, but they will have the sun light coming from one direction, but the objects in the sky will be shadowed on the side that the sun is. Do you know what I mean?
How sloppy.
Yeah. It happens all the time.
But maybe there's multiple suns. Like this is one of those Tatooine kind of situations.
Doesn't work like that. Okay. So that's the plot. So basically, Verity was bullied growing up, and Maria was the one that started the rumor that Verity... So essentially, Verity befriended a teacher who was the only person that would talk to her at the school. And she was alone, and the teacher was nice. And she finally found some safety, somebody that would talk to her and take interest in her. And then Maria, for no reason at all, just started a rumor that Verity and the teacher were having sex.
She was giving him handjobs. Yeah.
Okay. And they, I don't know why you had to clarify that.
Well, because her nickname becomes the handmaid or milkmaid. Sorry, milkmaid.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. I kind of forgot that detail.
Yeah.
And did something happen to the teacher? Did the teacher...
Yes, because she says, and that's when he had to go, because they fired him and he had to leave. So that destroyed her world. And she says, like, and I felt like no one believed me. No one saw the reality that I saw. And, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's take a break. When we get back, I'm going to read a comment from Reddit that will piss you off. What do you say?
Oh, I love it.
All right, we're back from the break. So here's one. Actually, I think this is from IMDb.
Okay.
User rating. They say, "What happened to Black Mirror? This is supposed to be about technology and people. This is magic nonsense. This is not Black Mirror quality. This is typical Netflix nonsense that makes the whole show look cheap." Another comment. "Verity is awful because she's privileged and white. Maria is awful, but rightfully so because of intersectionality or something." What do you think about that, Bro?
Okay, so I'll start with the second comment because the second comment's ridiculous. I didn't read any of that into this. Like, they're both presented with both bad and sympathetic aspects and qualities to them. There is nothing about her being white that plays into any of this. She's just awkward, and in high school was clearly geeky and lanky and, and blah, blah,
but what
blah.
they're saying is that, because you have a character that's the good guy and one that's the bad guy, of course the good guy is
the black woman, and the bad guy's the white woman. Yeah, that one's stupid. The first one, it goes too far. I definitely mostly disagree, except my main criticism of this episode, I give it a 7. I enjoyed it. But my main criticism is that I wish they had kept the ability for her to affect sort of like what perception is in reality more localized, rather than this, what I will agree is sort of magical feeling, all-powerful quantum machine that can rearrange the entire universe. I was like, that's too much. And so I will agree with the word magic. I still liked it. I liked the episode. I would have changed that aspect, changed the ending a bit. I could see her. She was this genius geek. She develops this massive quantum machine, and what it does is, first of all, it can rearrange things online. That's why when they do Google searches, and within a localized field.
Well, let me fix it for you.
Yeah.
So the way the tech works is that she has this machine, hand wave machine that she developed, I guess.
Yeah.
Because she was such a nerd that she had all this time on her hands.
I remember she even said that back even in high school, she had all these diagrams for a crazy computer.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so she creates this quantum hand wavy thing that makes it so that she can, with voice commands, tell the computer to transport her to a universe of her choosing.
Yeah.
And since there's a theory that every possible outcome has happened, and the way that us stupid humans interpret that is, wait, so there's a possible outcome where I won the lottery? And it's like, well, yeah, I guess, but really what the physics people are talking about is that every possible outcome, when you have like a photon that can either go left or right, and there's no way to know which way it's going to go, but it has to go one direction, and as soon as you observe it, like the Schrodinger's cat, that whole thing, then you will coalesce the universe into a outcome. And so the idea is like, well, it's possible that there's this other universe, a different version of me opens that box and the cat's dead. And, and so because of those particle probabilities, right? You know a little bit about this, so...
Yeah, because we discussed a lot of this in the Devs show, or Deus show, but that's all great and good. The problem is...
No, so I'm going to fix it. Sorry. So here's how you fix it.
Yeah.
You have the machine, an AI bot, that can hack into systems.
Yeah.
So you have this pendant, and you say, hack in to the system to change the security footage. So everything that she can change in reality is things that a computer hooked up to the internet could change, because you could change the security footage. If the computer has a way of hacking into the security system of that building and then using deepfake changes, instead of her drinking the almond milk, it's Maria drinking the almond milk.
Right.
Instead of a website that has a certain title, like that thing in the beginning when it's like, my boyfriend works for that restaurant. It's not called X, Y, and Z.
Right.
So you change it to a website that can be hacked. You know what I mean?
No. So that's that. I understand what you're saying. The problem is that functionally they needed the other characters to fully have Mandela affected. Right. But so what I was referring to was more like this. I was with them, hand wave, when what was happening is like 99.9 % of the universe is still the same normal universe, and my crazy quantum computer is still in my crazy house in pretty much the same place. But I changed one tiny little variable about the universe. Okay. Fine. And it's only affecting really like the Earth at most, right? Okay. I was kind of with them. But as soon as like anything you say into this little pendant can rearrange the entire universe you're in and put you anywhere in any universe, then I start asking questions like, okay, when she's like the empress of the universe and she shows up and she's there, where's the quantum computer in that thing? Because she didn't instruct, by the way, in this new universe that I want you to select, put the quantum computer near enough to where like, none of that, right? Or when she was transporting her, but keeping the other girl with the knowledge of the previous universe.
So I rewatched to figure that out because it doesn't make any sense.
Right.
Why would Maria, our protagonist, also remember?
Well, she was explaining that she was picking a universe in which she would, right? Fine. And again, I was with them as long as but we're still mostly 99.9% of the, as soon as they're like, I can select all of reality changes, I'm like, but I give it a 7 and I enjoyed it.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of as a thought experiment, how it interfaces with human trauma and bullying, I'm absolutely on board with that.
Yeah.
I gave the episode a 6 out of 10.
Yeah.
Because, I don't know, especially compared to Common People, the first episode of Black Mirror from this season, it just didn't have the punch. I felt bad. I wish they would have, I guess now that I think about it, I wish they would have given some background or fleshed out why Maria, our protagonist, said that in the first place. Why she caused the room, start. And maybe that's part of their point is like, well, kids are cruel and sometimes they just say stupid shit. And maybe that's all that we need to know. But a lot hinged on that.
Yeah.
And also, I wasn't bullied. As I've never been bullied. So I can't identify. And maybe for people who have been bullied, they absolutely can resonate with this episode. So maybe
I could imagine that. I mean, the way I took it was, and I see your point that it might have been interesting to explore that. Like I said, I gave it a 7, not an 8, definitely. And for me, the reason for docking it, because I will say I enjoyed it a lot from the perspective of like, I like this whole Mandela effect, playing with that notion of like the moments in the show where things change around her and she feels she's going freaking insane. I loved it because it was like this, it's like, oh my God, that would be so frustrating, so angering. And I've had moments like that in my life where I learned some fact that I was sure was a different way, and it's so frustrating. So I like that. I also liked what you're saying, exploring the bullying, but it is true that compared to like the first one we talked, or some of the ones we're going to talk, it didn't have the depth of it didn't explore the depth of the relationship or the...
Maybe if the device only worked on people's memories instead of the world.
Yeah.
Maybe if she could she had a quantum narrative changer or something.
Right.
And maybe literally just make it magic. It doesn't have to be tech.
I don't know about that one, see, because then to me, it's not Black Mirror.
Right.
But okay. Now, I will say though,
it's basically magic. Just because it has the word quantum in it doesn't mean that it.
Fair enough. But I want the illusion of plausibility.
I guess.
Okay. I will say though, I was really enjoying I'd say the first 30% of the episode was my favorite, because because I hadn't quite at first noticed that she was touching. I didn't notice that that she was grabbing a thing, so I still didn't know why things were changing. But I got so much enjoyment of when she's like, they mentioned the chain, and they're like, it's Bernie's. She's like, no, it's Barney's, and she's like, no, I think it is Bernie's. No, and I got enjoyment out of those scenes. And then the smaller the things, actually, the more I enjoyed them. Like when she's debating her in the office with the boss, and she's like, why are you yelling at me?
Right. Like if they had stuck to that subtlety,
right,
and made it questionable, like,
right,
well, maybe Maria is forgetting, like maybe if we never saw the original Barney's,
right,
and we're just going off of her memory, it would leave itself up to debate. It's like, well, maybe she was right, or maybe she is kind of the crazy one. Another thing that I think could have added to it, and this is me trying to claim that I can write a hit TV show, which is ridiculous. But now that I'm thinking about it, if they had a bit more of a coda for Maria, where she goes down a very similar path, like she has some kind of trauma that she's working out, that it doesn't have anything to do with Verity, but maybe some guy
would have been way better,
right?
Because the immediate cop out of like, make me the Empress of the, I'm like, that's a boring ending.
But when I watched it, I didn't really think about it this way. But when I think about it, I think
I like your approach.
What they're saying is like, well, she's just as bad as Verity.
Do you remember how at the end of Joan is Awful, you think, oh, it's nice resolution, and they're running the credits.
Right, there's a little coda.
It's Joan's Coffee, and you're like, oh, they're doing it again, right?
Yeah.
That was awesome.
And she's in therapy.
I like your angle. It would have been awesome if it ends and she wins. But again, she's not the Empress of the Universe.
Then she gets bored. Well, she becomes the Empress. She becomes bored. She's like, this is boring. No. And then she goes back to like Verity, and she goes back to her regular life, and she starts working out traumas.
You're fired. I almost hired you. Now you're fired. The other thing, by the way, is I liked the moment, when she drinks the milk, the almond milk, and she's looking, and she's just spilling almond milk, and Maria is staring, and she starts getting teary-eyed. To me, it was a great, powerful scene, because I would be so frightened in that moment too. I'm like, I'm in the presence of a psychopath. Like, she is doing this fully knowing she's hurting someone else. The other person's already like, who the fridge is drinking my milk? And she's gonna blame it on me, and she doesn't give a fuck. And at that moment, as audience members... I
like how you say, who the fridge, and then I don't give a fuck.
In that moment, no one in the audience yet knows, at least I don't think we yet know how bad Maria had been to her in high school. But even then, it's just like such a psychopath moment. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, maybe if we knew that it was Maria, it would have been more enjoyable to see that play out. Because when I rewatched it to prep for this episode, I picked up on things I didn't pick up on the first watch. And maybe that's part of Black Mirror's thing. It's the rewatchability. But one of the things that I picked up on that it was saying is that, and you said basically this earlier, that in Verity's real life, her life was upended by someone just changing reality.
Yeah.
Maria just changes reality, and everyone agrees with Maria's reality, and Verity's life is ruined.
Yeah.
And then Verity makes this machine that makes it so she can just say something and ruin someone else's reality. I feel like if we would have known from the start that's what was happening, it would, or maybe halfway through, because we learned everything at the very end.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's take a break. When we get back, let's wrap this up. What do you say?
Let's do it.
All right, we're back for the break. So I don't know if I mentioned this, but I gave it a 6 out of 10.
Yeah, you mentioned 6.
Yeah, which is
very watchable.
Yeah,
show. Yeah.
But as far as Black Mirror, not like...
I would normally agree with you. I just have such an affinity for the whole Mandela Effect thing that I
Why?
It fascinates me because there are things in my life that I feel that way about, that I feel that reality changed, and I'm pissed off about it.
Or you just misremember.
I'm not claiming that it's real. I'm saying that I feel that way. For example, the sunlight, I feel that when it's a bright sunny day nowadays, the quality of the light is harsher than when I remember it as a kid. That's just a way I feel. Okay. Another example is the Berenstein thing.
Well, you're at a much lower altitude at a much higher latitude.
But wouldn't it, like when I was in Bogota, wouldn't it have been thinner atmosphere leading to a harsher sun?
Yeah. Oh, you're saying it's harsher now.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyways, but a different.
Yeah, I don't know.
Different feel.
But there's things like that, and there's other things that I've experienced, so I can relate. And I just including the Berenstein Bears. For me, when I saw that, I was like, what? So I can relate to it. I like the topic. I've watched a lot of videos.
I fucking hate the Mandela Effect. I hate everyone who talks about it.
But you used to love it.
Yeah. And so in my notes, I was thinking about what this is a commentary on. And I literally wrote Mandela, I guess. So I mean,
they call it out in the show, right? It's like, you might be experiencing that Mandela effect.
But now, if we go from the trauma angle and the bullying angle, and this is a real thing that can happen. This happens all the time. There can be not necessarily even a bully type of person like Maria who just says some stupid shit and runs with it. And the rumor, I mean, when I was in high school and younger, this stuff would happen all the time. And I think back to some of the things that I participated in, not that I created or not that I even really generated, but certainly didn't push back on. Like there's this one girl who was older, a few years older, and there was this, I won't go into specifics, but there was this rumor about her that I think about, and I think, one, who cares if the rumor was true?
Right.
It's like, oh, she's sexually active, big fucking deal. You know what I mean? But also probably wasn't true because it was kind of a childish way of portraying sexuality looking back, like a bunch of kids making some stupid childish thing up about someone else.
Yeah.
And I remember it was just something that everyone said and did. I remember one time, I can be specific about this, it would have been 6th grade, and I was taking the bus to school, and there was this one girl at the end of the line that we would pick up just before going to school. So she would get on the bus last. And so you have a full, a bus full of kids. And, some bully on the bus, certainly not me, but some bully on the bus would get everyone, or maybe it was, a rotating list of bullies, I don't know, who would get everyone to agree to say, and would say when she would get on the bus, I won't say her name, but, so-and-so stuffs her bra.
Oh, my God.
The entire bus.
Oh, my God.
Can you imagine?
Oh, that's so horrible.
Yeah. And I think back on that, and I probably said it. I probably chanted it with everybody. I mean, it was literally every single student. Oh, my God. There wasn't, there wasn't like a group of quiet students that were like quietly everyone was doing it. I mean, in the 6th grade, you're not really prone to nonconformity. You know what I mean? Like if we would have fast forward even just a couple years, most people wouldn't have done that. But I think there's something kind of about middle school, 6th grade, where you just have no sense of that kind of thing, or very little.
Meanwhile, there was a kid in my 7th grade who would openly brag about how he kept his wallet, I think, in his underwear to make his crotch look bigger. And that wasn't like someone found out. He would just brag about it. He's like, yeah, I just put my wallet in my... Like, that was like, what?
Well, plus, like, you want your junk to look like a flat...
I don't know, dude. It was so weird.
Yeah. My dick is so big, it's like a flat
a piece waffle iron.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I wouldn't be surprised if one day you and I are sitting here recording and reality changes because of this kid that I did one of these things to. I was in 2nd grade. I had sort of a girlfriend It was the kind of girlfriend you'll have in second grade, which is like, it doesn't mean anything almost, but I had this girlfriend. And it was very embarrassing if anyone found out that we were boyfriend-girlfriend. So it was like totally secret. Well, a rumor started that this person had a boyfriend. And everyone was like, whoa, who's the boyfriend? Who's the boyfriend? And I panicked. And I threw this little boy, Raymond, under the bus. And he already had a hard time because he had big kind of red hair, very pale white. He was red haired and he was kind of stood out a bit. And I threw him under the bus. I'm like, oh, I think it's Raymond, which caused two things. First of all, everyone like, oh, Raymond's got a girlfriend. So he started crying. So I made this kid cry. Number one. Number two, of course, now the girl was destroyed because I confirmed the rumor that she was dating someone, but it was Raymond. So now she hates me. So like whatever. I was like the biggest jerk. So I wouldn't be surprised if the two of them teamed up and are now some sort of superpowered trio that alters reality and is gonna fuck with me. Mm-hmm. And and I did it because I was a normal stupid kid.
Did you know Raymond years later?
No, I've never. No. I would have definitely, I would have apologized profusely.
Yeah. I think another theme that I'll end with is the allure of revenge.
Oh, yeah.
Like if you or I, or listeners out there, if you somehow had this device and did I'm the emperor of the universe and then got bored and you retained your personality, because that's the other thing. It's like Verity could have said, I no longer have that trauma. Erase that memory from me. But maybe that screwed with your personality too much or something. But anyway, if we got bored, so we get past that first phase where we're just like, I don't, this doesn't feel entertaining. It's bland. It's boring. It's sort of like playing a video game on cheat mode.
And you turn on cheats. It's like, look, I got a tank. Right. Oh, I can kill all the cops. I'm bored.
Yeah. And so you settle into, okay, well, what would I like emotionally to change? What would I like to go maybe back in time, or what would I like to set the record straight?
Right.
And then answer that question. Do you have any ideas? Because I actually, one of the things that my brain does when I'm not occupied, there's a dozen or so things that kind of pop into my head, but this is one of them. But do you have?
Oh, absolutely.
Like, what would you do?
I mean, so just to get this straight, I have this device and I can tweak things about my past that I'm not happy about or not proud about or I regret.
Well, let's limit it to things that you can do in the present.
Oh, I see.
To set the record straight.
Oh, okay.
The same way that Verity, screwed with Maria and that other girl.
But I can't do things like heal my torn muscle.
What do you mean?
Okay. All right. So I guess what I would do is certainly to set the record straight. So I'll keep it narrow to that. Yeah, I would definitely set the record straight with my ex-girlfriend from junior year because I was such a bad person in the way I didn't break up with her. I passive-aggressively didn't return her calls. It's the worst possible thing. I would set the record straight there.
How?
First, I would have never not...
No, you can't go back in time.
No, I'm not going back in time. I would just tweak so I never did that.
You can't do that.
Oh, I see. Well then it's just like I meet her randomly so I can apologize fully.
Okay.
Yeah, I would definitely do that. And then...
But you can do that now.
I don't know where she is.
But you could really try to find where she's at. You could hire a private investigator.
Okay, sure, but...
I'm not saying you're supposed to do that, but that's not a pendant thing. And plus, that's you having made a mistake. I'm talking about revenge.
Oh, I'm going to take revenge?
Yeah, I feel like you're really having a hard time understanding my question. Verity gets revenge on someone that fucked her.
I see.
Who would you get revenge on that fucked you?
Okay. Well, damn.
That doesn't involve going in the past, doesn't involve erasing something that happened in the future. Only has to do with something. You can change reality now to fuck with someone now.
I mean, there's so many, but I'll keep it to people I know directly rather than like
politics. No. Do anyone.
Well,
because mine has to do with politics.
Well, then of course. I mean, I don't want to get arrested by ICE tomorrow. So basically, I would definitely set the record straight as you're putting it with a few people. But I want to give a specific example.
Well, I'll give mine. I would literally slowly. I've thought about this actually. I would slowly change the mind, just tweak a little bit of the voters in the swing states like Michigan and Ohio and Florida. Not a lot, just enough people so that the next time around and every time after that, because that's all you need. You just need like 100,000 people or even half of that to just, instead of voting this one way, they just vote this other way. And they just always do that. And then everything is fine from that point.
All right. I would be a little more dramatic than that. Like I wouldn't do the subtle tweak, I guess. But and
it's clear that even people around these people wouldn't be shocked because they're swing voters. Right. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't be noticeably altering anything. Even to the individual, they wouldn't notice. It'd just be like a couple neurons going a different direction. You know what I mean?
Plausible deniability, right? It's untraceable.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I would like basically bring the top 10 worst people in the world right now, according to me. And I would tell them, listen, you either start, like I've got this power and there's nothing you can do to stop me. I've got the power. You either start changing your ways, apologize for things, and you know what it is, and if you think you don't know, you're going to find out what I can really do with this thing. So I'm going to send you back. I'm not going to kill you. I'm going to send you back. But if I don't see changes, and then they start being good, right? And then I pull a Twilight Zone and I bring them back and I'm like, no, I meant you have to be worse. And then I kill him.
I like it though. No, I mean the first part.
Yes.
I think that would be very
like I'm going to give you one last chance, kind of thing.
Be very emotionally satisfying.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't be telling them what to do.
No.
You'd almost just be enacting their conscience.
Yeah.
Like what.
Because I have a feeling that most humans, if confronted with an actual God, because this is kind of what it would be like,
right.
And the God goes like, listen, you and I both know what we both know.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you one more chance. I feel most humans would be like, okay, let me step in line. Right. The ones that don't maybe do need to get a little punished or a lot. So yeah, that's what I would do.
How would you punish them?
Oh man, well, I guess I would construct an ironic punishment if I'm really this powerful but now I'm probably going to see the power is now going to get to my head. So someone's going to come and mess with me.
What would it be? Would it be like pulling out their fingernails?
No. Their worst fears, right? So like, for example, if someone is let's call them a malignant narcissist, to pick out random words, and they fear being embarrassed about, the things that they're most proud about, I would make sure that they were absolutely publicly.
Like give a random example.
Okay, like random example. Like let's say someone prides their hair, like they think they have this beautiful head of hair. Maybe they no longer have that beautiful hair.
Well, how would that play out exactly? You have the pendant. You're standing
giving
there.
A speech in front of all the cameras.
You touch your pendant and you say what?
And I say, the orange covers the flat dome on the head, and now. There's no hair. It's just flat and orange. Actually, it's not orange because it's pale. And
so the hair, you just make it disappear.
Yeah, and then it's like super embarrassing for them and stuff like that. But as I'm saying this, I'm like, I would immediately start feeling like, oh man, now I'm the bad guy. I wanted them to change, but if they're not going to change, instead of torturing them,
let's take it to the next level.
Yeah.
Then how would you modify this?
All right, then I guess.
Because you're God. You are a God. You can do anything you want.
I guess what I would do is I would put them in a situation where they have to be working to repair things that they have either directly or indirectly caused.
How do you touch your pendant?
I touch my pendant and say, he is fighting the war in Ukraine. Front lines.
Oh, he's a soldier.
Yeah. Front lines, Ukraine. Stuff like that.
Okay. And then after he experiences that for a month in the horrors, then what?
Then I'm like,
bring him back.
No, you're now trying to feed people in Gaza.
Okay.
Stuff like that.
And then you bring them back to their position of power.
Yeah, 600 years later, I put him back as a real estate developer in a small city.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, obviously, like maybe not.
But no, I get it. Or there's other ways to do it.
Yeah.
Like you're trying to get them to reform.
Yeah.
To see the light. And how do you do that? You could put them in situations that would require them to have empathy.
Like, if you
because I've had, so I used to have this fantasy as well. I had, so here's, I haven't talked, I mean, I don't know. You tell me if I've told you at least about this. This all started, I don't know, maybe like 15 years ago or something. I had this fantasy that would actually help me fall asleep because it's kind of low stakes. It's kind of funny to think about. That's what often makes me fall asleep, is a funny, non-brain taxing thought experiment. And I had this thought of taking anti-immigration politicians and having them kind of have like a Groundhog's Day, but they don't have. So here's what. So they would wake up in the desert on the other side of the wall.
They're trying to make it,
and they're just on the other side of the wall.
Oh, yeah, okay.
But they can't climb over.
Right.
And they're in the middle of nowhere, and they're in their pajamas. They don't have their phone. They don't have a wallet. And in certain versions of this, they look like a local.
Sure.
You know, it's not like the border agents come, oh my God, it's so and so. Yeah, it's politician so and so. They would kind of look the part, so to speak, and then they would wake up and they would have to figure out, what do I do?
Yeah,
and no matter what happened, you know, let's say they somehow on one day they convince everybody, no, I'm really so and so. You know, I'm what was that guy's name from the 90s? Pat Buchanan.
Oh,
I'm Pat Buchanan.
Yeah.
And then as soon as he falls asleep, boom, he's back on the other side of the fence.
Right. So you give him just enough direct experience to maybe trigger some empathy.
Every day.
Oh, okay.
Every day.
Oh, I see. It's a groundhog. Right.
But it's different days.
Okay.
And most of the time it was Pat Buchanan who looks like Pat Buchanan. And,
okay.
And every time he gets dropped off, because the border is long, you know, it's hundreds of miles.
Yeah.
He's in a random place, so he can't tell people.
It's quantum leap plus.
You can't. He can't set up a patrol to know where he's going to be appearing, and maybe he appears 100 miles south of the border or something somewhere. And so every day he has to wake up and figure out how to survive.
You're combining Quantum Leap with the first X-Men movie. Do you remember how Magneto's plan is he's going to turn everyone into a mutant, and the first person they tested on is that the senator that's trying to legislate against mutants, and they turn him into a mutant. And so he shows up, he washes up on the shores, and everyone's like, mutant! It's like, I'm a senator.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then I fall asleep. But I suppose if I took it in the direction you are taking it, instead of it just being a torture cycle, maybe there would be some way for them to redeem themselves and get out of the loops. Kind of like Groundhog's Day. If Pat Buchanan saw the light and was just like, okay, God, I understand now.
Right.
I will never have that sort of anti-immigration fervor that I had before. I get it.
Yeah.
Please let me out of this loop. And if he's true of heart, then he's out of the loop.
Right. I like it. I like the angle. I mean, look, it's tough because with some things, I don't know if you watched recently, Bono was talking about this. Like, there are actions that certain people have taken recently, people we've done deep dives on this podcast, that arguably were responsible for hundreds of thousands of deaths, right? So when you look at something like that, you go, what is a fitting punishment? Because we put people in jail for their entire life over one murder, right? Okay. So it gets tough, right? So like if you ask me, what would I do with my magic pen?
And we also cancel and torture people online.
Yeah.
For having dressed up in blackface 15 years ago.
Exactly.
Not that that's okay.
Right.
But like compared to people who engage in systems knowingly of genocide or of mass killing.
So because of that, it is hard for me, if I have a pennant, for me to be like, well, I'll just put them in a reform camp. Like I might be like, he's got to go, right? Like, but I do think if I were keeping to this philosophy of like, no, we're going to get everyone to experience the thing, then yeah, I would that's what I would do. Is like the system would be, I go down the line and these people have to go do the thing they're most responsible for, 180 degrees, that's what they have to do. So they're feeding people, they're rebuilding places, and they're not privileged in those locations. They're not like, oh, it's such and such, and oh, you've got so much. No, it's like you're kind of like what you're saying. They might even look the part or look from the region or whatever it is. They have to do it. So yeah, where's our pendants?
Wouldn't it be nice?
Yeah.
All right. Well, that does it. What would you do? Say in the comments below.
Yeah.
And everyone out there, please take care of yourself because
you deserve it.